All right, guys. So our next topic here is going to be talking about the the premiere of Wonder Woman and how well it did for HBO Max themselves. There's been so much talk about HBO Max now that I'm stumbling upon the titles and the words. Just a lot of information going on here. But right now, a lot of people when HBO Max and Warner Brothers had their whole announcement to put all their films straight to HBO Max in 2021 and all this, and they were going to start with Wonder Woman. Everyone was curious as to how well will it actually do for the service, and will it actually bring in new subscribers and in numbers that they actually want for the most part, because everybody knew that there was going to be some new subscribers, but is it going to be substantial enough for them to actually continue on and move forward with the entire slate of their 2021 movies, or will it be kind of all for naught? And we have some numbers. This is coming from the Hollywood Reporter that kind of showcase a little bit of that information here, and it also dictates a little bit of a comparison between Disney Plus and Soul. So the good news for Warner Brothers in some regards here in HBO Max is that the Wonder Woman film being released on HBO Max was the most streamed video, the most straight to streaming SVOD movie of the year. So I mean that's good. And it all sounds good and dandy. But then if you actually go
It in a pandemic year, that sounds really good.
it does. It really does. It's good. I mean, I don't know. The only problem you have with it is when you start to actually look at the competition. And what was that bar
Sure,
that you had to pass? Because
sure.
how much higher would the number have been if, say, it didn't release in theaters in a lot of places? Because in international markets, it released in theaters, so a lot of people may have already seen it in theaters. Some theaters, like you went and saw it in theater as well, so you may have watched it again on HBO Max if you already had it. But there are some people out there who were able to go to a theater and watch it, and those people, this may not be like the significant factor, but a factor would be people already seeing it in the theaters, maybe had no reason to sign up for HBO Max at this point. Um, and again, those numbers might not be as astronomically high as you would think they would be. I don't know what the highest was before it, but it goes on to say that there was like 23% signed up for the streaming service just to watch um, Wonder Woman. But when you look at the actual percentages, it's like their overall number is like 28 million, as opposed to Disney Plus has 87 million. So 80 when you get 13% of 87 million is going to be probably around roughly the same as 23% of, or it's going to be smaller than 23% of 28 million. You know what I mean? So when you actually start to look at the percentages, it's like it sounds good, but it, you got to know what the base number is, and that's when it gets
Yeah.
kind of confusing for everybody. But regardless, when you're looking at just kind of the blanket statement of like at least there was an increase, that's good. I mean, at least I don't think it's the numbers they were really necessarily hoping for, but I think there's a lot of factors that actually go into it. Another one being that HBO Max, the launch they had where they were just finally able to get on Roku and Amazon devices like a month ago, and it's still not available in as many markets as Disney Plus is. So Disney Plus is just still dwarfing them in subscriber counts because they're available on more platforms. They were able to launch on more platforms. So it's again just back to the mismanagement. But what do you guys think? Do you think that this is a good thing that Wonder Woman 84 was able to bring in at least some new subscribers for them? And then we're also going to be getting into, there's a whole breakdown in our next topic of like all the streaming numbers for all the companies and all the in comparison to the box office gross for 2020 compared to 2019. So stay tuned for that here. We're going to get into that in just a minute. It's kind of segues into it. So, but what do you guys think of these initial numbers?
It's good for HBO Max that they could draw in numbers like that from one movie.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like we've been kind of saying, Disney Plus has been able to grow to 87 million subscribers with one show.
With one show, yeah. One really good show.
Yeah, one really good show. But I mean, it's just baffling, like that
Yeah.
they were able to do that. And then, because I said this before too, man, like HBO Max, like on paper, they have more inarguably, like, overall better content than it depends on who you are, I guess, but, like, it's all subjective. But, like, HBO Max, when compared to a Netflix and a Disney Plus and then a Peacock and all this stuff, like, as far as quantity and quality, when you look at the best overall, it'd be hard to argue that HBO Max, like, isn't actually the best one.
Yeah.
Like, with just what they have, how much of it is premium content and how much they have in general, it kind of dwarfs everybody else. Game of Thrones, Sopranos, like, all these classic HBO, like, astronomical hits, right? The entire Warner Brothers catalog and whatnot, like, it's it's crazy because it's such a good service in all reality, but they've just squandered squandered the launch for it. So, John, what do you think these were good numbers, and they were? You think they were wanting better than this 23% increase?
I mean, I guess publicly they have to promote this as a win.
Mm.
Having the number one streaming movie, I think that's something. Having the number one streaming movie for a pandemic year is something to hang your hat on. But yeah, obviously they're kind of scrambling still, and they're trying to find a way to prop up the thing. The other thing that this cat and mouse game these streaming companies play, and it's a, I blame Netflix because Netflix has done it the entire time they've been in existence. But this idea that they don't reveal their numbers
Mhm.
is a little frustrating. I would think as an investor, if you were an investor, you would just hate that, and
Oh
you
yeah.
would shy away from investing in these companies because you don't know the numbers. There's no good information out there about what is actually going on with these companies. But anyway, all that aside, um, I think that they must be at least somewhat pleased with Wonder Woman 84's performance. Otherwise, they wouldn't have greenlit Wonder Woman 3. They wouldn't be talking it up as the most streamed movie. I think all that put together, they're happy with it. I don't think we'll ever know. We'll never know, what the theoretical box office for that movie would have been had it
Yeah.
not. There was an article the other day that talked about why the reception to Wonder Woman 84 was so poor among not just critics, but among the general audience. And one of the things that they pointed out was a lot of people consume Wonder Woman 84 in a method that is not typical for most major releases. They consumed it while sitting on their couch, holding their phone, and live tweeting their reactions. So anytime some couch critic felt like they didn't like something or the way that something was played out, they could tweet it out, and then that was instant bias that was being sent out to other people who were either getting ready to watch it or maybe watching at the same time, versus the traditional method where people go sit in a theater, they see the movie and they take it all in as a total, the totality of the film at one sitting without any outside opinions or influence, and then they kind of go in and adjust their opinions after the fact. But they've already got that first impression from having viewed it unfiltered or I don't know if unfiltered is the right way, but without that other input coming in. So I do think that was an interesting take on why the reaction was so different, and I think we'll never know if that reaction, if the negative reaction we're seeing to the movie would have translated into a negative box office.
I think I also read something similar too, where it was I can't remember if this was like an actual like statistical analysis kind of thing or a theory, if you will. But they were similarly going on to say that a lot of people, because they watched it from home on their couch and everything, they didn't get the overall just movie theater experience,
Yeah.
and
It's
which makes the movie I don't, and I agree with it in some ways to where, like, when you watch a movie at home and you watch a movie in theaters with a big crowd and all that stuff, like, your experience will be different,
oh definitely.
for better or for worse, but I don't I don't agree because they were going on to say that that was, like, the main reason that, like, a lot of people don't like the movie, was that, like, you
You don't
watched it
have
on
that
your
same
TV.
experience, yeah.
Yeah, and you miss out on the experience, and you're just there, you're watching it, and who knows, I mean, like, how many times did you pause the movie? How many times did you get up and go, you know, how distracted were you? Like, did you actually, like, absorb the movie in like you would traditionally and all that
Yeah,
stuff?
you're not directly focusing on it.
Yeah, which I'm sure is an effect. But I don't think, cause like, I didn't like the movie, like, straight up, and it wasn't because I didn't watch it in theaters. I didn't like the movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's, that's just how it is. But I can I'm willing to accept that, like, that was definitely something that had an effect on a lot of people's viewing experience. Because it's like there's some scenes even in the movie, and like most movies, the directors make these movies to be played in theaters, you know? Like, that's what they're made for, and there's plenty of scenes that, like, I would have much rather seen in the theater if I could have, like the first flight scene, the ship, or not the ship, but the jet scene, and they're flying through the fireworks and all the there's a lot of good imagery in there, like the mascara scene, a lot of things like that. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen it on, you know, on the big screen. It's not gonna make a bad movie a good movie, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
But I could definitely see it affecting people's overall just initial impressions and viewpoint on it for sure. Because like, it is in, kind of an uncontrollable environment. It's an unknown variable, you know, because you don't know, there's just a lot of things that go into it, as opposed to you're in the movie theater, you're focused on the movie.
You're just sitting there
Yeah.
focused on it,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what you're doing. You paid to be there, you're focused, you know, that's why you're there. So I definitely think it has an effect, 100%. The one thing too that, just to add in here before we move on to the next one, it wasn't just the highest, the most streamed movie. It actually was the box office winner, apparently. Or is this just over the weekend? Or is this over the off weekend, the debut? No, that's the top debut of any film since the pandemic struck in March. So, an opening weekend of 16.7 million domestically is the biggest domestic opening we've had all year.
Good for them, though,
Yeah,
with
I mean, that
everything that's
just
been
goes
going on.
yeah, that just goes to show you, like, how, and we'll get into this here in another article, that just goes to show you how bad the theater industry was hit, man. $16 million opening weekend for a comic book movie. A successful franchise second installment of a comic book movie. Like, this is something that typically would have made anywhere from 100, 200 million opening weekend, and you're looking at number 1 at, 16 million. Very
I think
small.
100 to 125 million opening for Wonder Woman 84 would have been realistic
Yeah, I agree.
had the pandemic not been.
Yeah. I think a minimum one, because I think even Joker was like 85. I might be
Yeah.
wrong on it, but I think that was about where it was, 60 to 80, and that's pretty standard for, like, I feel like that's on
Well,
par with, like, the Ant-Man movies and things like that, like, you know, these big ones, they make about 80 to 100, and that's a stellar opening weekend.
yeah.
50 million is a great opening weekend for most movies. Just these ones, I mean, even Warner Brothers expected this movie to make around 1 billion. That's why they paid Gallon Patty 10 million. You know, they're 1% back end points off the movie. So they definitely expected it to do big numbers. And I mean, given the situation, it was your highest domestic grossing opening weekend all year. So it did do big numbers to some extent when you look at it in that way. So that's good. I think overall, despite the, I don't know, the funkiness you can play with the percentages, because, you know, they're comparing Soul and how many people signed up for Disney Plus just to watch Soul. That's 13% off of, you know, 90 million, as opposed to the 23% off of, you know, like 30 million for HBO. So I mean, the
Yeah, if
numbers
you
are a
if
little
you
bit wonkier, but
if you take those percentages based off of their off of what we think their subscriber base is, you're looking at 6.44 million new subscribers to HBO Max. But Soul, yeah, at a lower percentage, is still more viewers at 11 million point 24
yeah,
million additions. You're talking about almost five. What is that? Five, almost six additional million subscribers for Disney, but the percentage comes out lower because their install base was already bigger.
exactly. Yeah. So that's why it's like, when you start to look at the numbers, was it really all that good? But I think regardless, any increase for HBO is good
Yeah.
because that's what they're hurting at right now. So a little unfair to compare it to Disney in some ways. Sure, maybe, but I mean that is what we're here for. Or at least that's what this article is about, comparing the numbers. And that'd be the name of the game right now if these films were traditionally opening in the box office. So we'd be comparing their opening weekends, and it is pretty good for Soul too. I mean, let's give a shout out to Disney for and Pixar really to have
Yeah.
that much pull to actually get 13% of like you said, like about 11 million people to sign up just for the Pixar movie. That's pretty good.
It's not bad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's real good. So, but yeah, that's about it. That's it for all that. That is it for that topic, guys. What do you think about HBO Max at least having some sort of improvement on their subscriber base with the HBO or not with the Wonder Woman going straight to HBO Max? I mean, because that's obviously what they were aiming for. But do you think that they're actually like a little bit disappointed in the numbers, regardless of it being a success and then being the top streamed movie of 2020 and then having the highest domestic box office opening of 2020? Do you think even though they get to say they have those titles, do you think they were obviously wishing for more or even expected more? Let us know what you think down in the comment section below.